All right, hola, and buenos dias, GnGs. My name is Trekkw2ks. Welcome to Week in Crypto, brought to you here on the Gemini Crypto Network. And in case if you don't know, the basic idea behind this segment is I cover crypto-related news around personalities, companies, figures within the space. And I don't do it from a price talk perspective, but I do it from a what does this event mean? And it's usually the stories that happen between Friday and Sunday, pop it out 08 Monday morning. And I give it, my spin and context. For the folks who've been around for a minute, I appreciate y'all for coming back. I appreciate you for taking my off-head ramblings as something worth listening to and using as cross-referencing information for how you are looking at this space as it develops and what you're trying to do in it. And trust me, there's always a story. The question really is, what are you paying attention to? And then how are you referencing that information? And then how are you implementing it into what you're trying to do? Whether it be from the tech end, the money end, you want to be an observer and you want to build something, whatever it is. Hopefully something I said gets you to think or at least question what's going on in the space. So I got a couple of stories, and as usual, I got to filter it down from like 20 plus things down to what I got here is 6. So yeah, let's get into those stories, and we'll see. Y'all see what I'm talking about. Here we go. So first story we're going to start with, which is kind of a repeat, but it got brought up again. If you remember, I talked about this story either last week or the week before. There's a court case that started in 2021 where this non-American dude is being in a federal court situation. One of the department agencies is going after him saying, hey, you made this Bitcoin mixer thing and you were not a money transmitter licensed person and you didn't do a couple other rule things. And so the defense case, and I'm not even going to read you the whole thing because they're really just rehashing the same points, but they're making it sound like this is the new buzz thing. Now, I think if you are a lawyer in this space and if you're in compliance in this space, I think this case is very, very relevant. Okay. And as I said before, the issue here is I'll read these 3 TDLR parts because they're really the only things that matter because I already talked about this before, but here we go. So Chain Analysis, a blockchain analytics firm, faces criticism over the reliability of its on-chain analytics software in a high-profile criminal case. The defense for Roman Sterlingov, accused of operating Bitcoin fog, challenges chain analysis methodologies, labeling them as junk science. The outcome of this case could influence the future perception and utilization of blockchain analytics in legal scenarios. This is way bigger, in my opinion, than just what this means for blockchain analytics. This is also going to go into the issue of compliance. This is also going to go into how the firms look at representing their positions. The other thing to note with this, and when I was going through the article, with this site, if I'm understanding what that little promo means in the bottom, this is a paid for article. Why I'm also bringing this to your attention is because I'm also then wondering, like, wait, is somebody doing a PR campaign to do a smear on chain analysis? Is that what this is right here? Because I don't remember what the first story I covered was. If that was a paid article, but this one, I'm bringing it up to y'all. It's a paid article. It says promo in there. But I'm wondering, is this a smear campaign on chain analysis by somebody? I still think it's a very, very valid argument. The basic defense is, hey, we can't independently verify that chain analysis software is 100% correct every time they run it. And you got to understand, chain analysis' major revenue model is the government and the private sector. They sell their reports. They sell, well, I don't know if they sell the full report. Well, they might sell the full reports, but they definitely do push out a number of reports within the year and within the quarter and all that fun stuff. But they get a lot of money from the government. They also sell the software to the government, and they're doing it with other agencies. So imagine it then comes into play like, yo, they have a margin of error of +3 or -3 or margin of error of 2, -1. So it's like, wait a minute. You got to understand the bigger thing, and I brought the same thing up last week, is that they are used in official federal prosecution of individuals and companies that are related to this blockchain thing, right? This whole crypto thing. And so if this goes through and they are effectively able to argue to the judge, Your Honor, we cannot independently verify that the software that they are using as the base part of their evidence to prosecute my client is 100% effective, or at least the margin of error in false positive, false negative, what is it? It's false positive, false negative, and another thing that where, all right, you know what? We can at least say that is notably 100% on. we can't even do that because there is no independent verification of their software. They're claiming when in the last article that was written, they were like, well, who you guys want to look at our software? That guy doesn't know nothing. He's not a degreed computer engineer, even though he's been writing as a like one of the core Bitcoin folks for like 5 years or something. So here's where I'm going with this. I think this is something to pay attention to. If you're in compliance, if you're on the law side of this, if you're someone who is dealing in certain business models that involve certain things that may not be copacetic here in the States, you might want to pay attention to this case. It's been going on for more than a year at this point. I don't know if the dude's actually arrested or anything, but the other thing that I'm curious on, because it's not an American citizen. He's not an American citizen. The dude's like dual somewhere over there, citizenship, is that I'm surprised, and again, I don't know what the agency is. How are they not able to freeze his finances? Because like, who's funding the lawyer is my question. And I'm also, again, this is a paid ad, so I'm like, not a paid ad, but a paid article, which basically is, marketing, whatever. Is this a smear on Chainalysis? And is it a sideways way to get at the federal government side? Because they heavily depend on Chainalysis as they're like, well, our SME, our subject matter expert, our cyber analytics blockchain company that we contract with, here's the report that they put out. And there's literally been like 2 or 3 things that came out story-wise with Chainalysis where it was interesting how the other news platforms were spinning the report that they put out about how hacking has gone down in the amount of money that has been taken from 2022 to now. But whatever, I'm not going to run to that story. The point being is that I think this is something to pay attention to because it has a very much bigger effect in how it could play out. And I was actually kind of surprised to see this story pop up again the way it is. But because it's a promo, I'm questioning the intention and the motivation behind it. Just throwing that out there, though. All right, so next story. Yo, New York is on his shit right now. It really is. So here you have it. Crypto regulator Peter Marton resigns. NYDFS searches for next chief. Okay, so the title is kind of off and it's misleading. So Peter Marton is actually the deputy superintendent of the New York State Department of Financial Services, and he was actually in charge of the crypto assets, the virtual currency stuff section of it, right? So he was the guy who was like, this is my department, I handle these things. Now, depending on what you're reading and what story the way it's covered, some folks are like, oh yeah, he was a great friend of crypto, he helped do blah blah blah. But mind you, New York has only given like probably 20, if even that much, actual bit licenses to crypto related companies since they came up with the bit license. It's not a bunch of people in New York running around with it. Like, it's not oh, well, I'm a multi-billionaire, let me get one so I can start this exchange. It don't work like that up there. The point being, though, about this gentleman in particular is that he was one of the early dudes who took the reins of the department, and then they went and did what they did to stomp out some competition in the state, definitely push exchanges out, definitely limit how the local citizens of New York have access to crypto and blockchain related platforms, okay? And so the thing to understand as the takeaway is, I'm going to say, your man did what he was supposed to do for the time that he was in, and now he's moving on to greener pastures. To me, in my mind, this is an event. Why? Because this is happening as we got X amount of clarity from the SEC. We got X amount of clarity in bills coming through from the Congress. We have the CFTC that just did the thing that they did with the 3 quote DeFi exchanges. There's X amount of regulatory activity happening, right? And then you're looking at the halvening is coming up. In my mind, this is one of those, like, he did what he was supposed to do for the time he needed to be there, and now he's going to move on to the other side where he's about to make a killing on the buku bucks. Because the other thing to note about this article, and again, as I've been saying for however long, the article's links will be in the description. Do note, though, that for how you see them here, it doesn't mean that it might be the exact same wording or length by the time if you decide to go through and look for the article. Because they do make these updates, right? We're in that whole 24-hour news cycle thing right now. And then sometimes they take whole articles down. Deadass, that happens. But the point being is, he's making the move. So now my question is, between now and next, what is that, March, whenever the halvening thing is, who's going to be leaving a government position, whether it be at the state level or whether it be at the federal level, and who's going to move into the private sector? As you know, or if you don't know, I've been covering a couple of different stories. If you go back in the episodes and look, where I talk about there's hirings happening from traditional finance and like the business biz dev world, and the government sector, of people who are crossing over into crypto blockchain related companies. It's been going on for more than a year now. I expect to hear more crossovers as we get closer and go beyond the halvening. Do put this in very, very bold context. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not your CPA. I'm not a CPA, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what your pockets look like. I don't know how you're looking to move through this space. So none of this is financial advice. I'm bringing up these stories to you and I'm conveying them the way I am, as far as them being either events that indicate a coming trend or change, or community or segment or market, or just like a, here's my idea of what how I interpret this story in this space. Please do your own due diligence. Please go through the information beyond what I'm saying, question all of what I'm saying, and make it make sense to you. Don't worry necessarily about how it makes sense to me. If what I'm saying don't make sense to you, I'm sorry. I got to work on another better way to explain some of this stuff. But nonetheless, do your own due diligence is my point, right? Not financial advice. But I think this is something to note, that he's making this shift now. It's X amount of months out before the end of the year. In this article, they don't cover who he actually is going to. But I imagine at some point, somebody's going to bring it up. Somebody will bring it up. All right. All right. So jumping on to this next story. It was too long on that. Sorry. So if you don't know, and honestly, I didn't know who Nil Foundation. So Nil Foundation collaborates with Tessio for machine learning model verification on Ethereum. And so part of why I covered this story, because honestly, I think on the technical end, I don't cover as many technical stories. I don't really like running around on the hack stories, because like those can get like X amount of technical, and I know not everybody's like that level technical, but I think this is a doable level technical, because I'm not getting into the coding stuff. More so just saying like, hey, here's what's going on as a technical development within the Ethereum ecosystem. So the Nil Foundation and Tessio, if I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, are collaborating on a pipeline for validating ML models on Ethereum's layer 1 mainnet using zero knowledge technique. Now, this is not necessarily ZK Snark, but this is a variation of zero knowledge proof that they have developed themselves for how they're running it. So basically what they're doing is they're looking to integrate AI into the process of validating zero knowledge based transactions. So let's break this down a little bit to say, I don't know how much crypto was sent, and I don't know who sent it to who per se, which there's a whole thing that I don't agree with about how zero knowledge and all of that is being developed out. But that's a whole different animal. The point being is, I think that from a technical standpoint, as far as being able to have some level of privacy and anonymity and security, I think this is an interesting development. But I also am looking at it going, well, where's the revenue model in this? Like, so y'all are just throwing out AI software. Like it's not cheap to run the AI models. Like it's not. It requires a huge back end as far as servers and all of that fun stuff. So here's the point to this. I think that, because there's another story too of something else that's being done, that I think this could be something that we'll start seeing kind of rippling through the other blockchains outside of the Ethereum ecosystem. Because the basic thing that this is, I would argue, this is a different kind of variation or something that could substitute oracles. And like, if you know how oracles function in the trading world and understand that those are what the data or information that oracles provide are deemed as representing the true state of like, what is the value of this token or coin at this time right now, and then it's being tracked all the way until like 5 p.m. tomorrow. And it's like, well, whatever the oracle says, that's the official thing. It's not what somebody's side site who isn't a trusted oracle within the network says. They're saying, well, let's put in AI software to be able to validate or verify transactions. And mind you, if you don't know about how the zero knowledge proof thing works with how they have their setup, the ZK stuff, X amount of this is off-chain stuff. So they're putting less data on the blockchain. They have X amount of the data off the blockchain. They're trying to have it be encrypted in a way that it would still work with an AI tool software, analyzing it and validating the transaction segment offline and then pushing the end result online. It's in my mind, this is a new way to kind of try to look at where oracles fit in in the blockchain transactions going forward, especially when you start getting into the bigger exchange part of it and smart contracts and blah, blah, blah. That's at least my thought process. I think this is another interesting development to pay attention to. So for all you ETH fans out there, this might be your day right here. I don't know, maybe. All right, so this is next story. I seen this and I was really kind of debating on whether to even bother with this, but here's why I thought to bother with this. So headline is PayPal stablecoin PYUSD. Paxo published a transparency report. Now, X amount of us in the space are fans of Paxo, right? X amount of us in the space are fans of Paxos. I'm not trying to throw shade at Paxos, but I'm definitely going to smudge right now. Here's why. Here's why I'm going to smudge, right? So I'm going to read the first part. Paxo is an issuer of PayPal stablecoin, PYUSD, has published a transparency report as of 31 August 2023. That's the end of last month. The PYUSD token appears to be backed by 45.36 million in reserve. Now, we don't know if that's a collection of things or whatever, but here's the issue. We can't independently verify the off-chain stuff. So to me, the report then is just like, well, what are you really reporting to me? And arguably, this is almost like us going through another swing of what is it? What is that period we went through just earlier, beginning this year, end of last year? The proof of oh god, and Binance I think was the first one to do it. But y'all get what I'm going through right now as far as the exchanges trying to say like, look, we have this, right? So you got to understand, like, you can go and look at the blockchains and the addresses yourself with any blockchain explorer for whatever that blockchain is that you are interested in. The thing comes into play where the question is are all of the assets that exchange or that financial institution or that business claims to be connected to the cryptocurrency of it or the token or the NFT thing, is all of that stuff on chain for you to independently verify yourself, or are they showing you a combination of on chain and off chain stuff and you can't verify any of the off chain stuff? That's what I think this potentially represents in my mind. Here's the thought process. If Paxos, who has a reputable name in the space, puts this out, they are then vouching for PayPal's accounting practices and business practices, okay? As far as how they are saying, here's what we got in our bank, here's what we got, quote, on chain, and how we're pushing out this stablecoin thing. And a lot of this is on trust. So here's where I think the potential issue is. If it comes out down the road, let's say next year, that PayPal didn't have what Paxos had just generated in this report, it now makes Paxos look like, yo, y'all doing shady business, which I'm hoping they, cross their T's and dot their I's every which way they could. But I'm just saying, for those of us who've been around for a minute and we remember PayPal and what it used to be and then how it is now, and just the growing pains of how they were with crypto in the beginning, I don't have 100% faith in this report. But that's just me, though. Didn't actually read the report. I'm just going off of, I know PayPal's track record, and I know what we tried to do with proof of reserves as a marketing tool last year and earlier this year to quell market sentiment because of the Treasury situation, because of the FTX situation, because of the Binance situation, and because of X amount of these other exchanges that it came out that, yo, everybody was mixing money and they were doing things that were not the most sound financial things you could do when you're operating using your I don't even want to say depositors, but like when you're using the public, the people who are putting their crypto into your platform, and then you're mixing it up and doing other things with it. Guess what? The shell game can only work but for so long. That's the bottom line where I'm going to go with that. I think we might see more. There might be a new type of financial reports that's starting to come out, and I think this might be our first indicator. But I'm still looking at it as it's going to be a proof of reserve gimmick. If you've been around for a minute, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know how we feel. And when I say we, I'm talking about like me, King, Zay. Like, we've talked about this in the live streams, in our own segments, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna push on to this next story. And so this next one is funny. I actually know somebody who works for this company, and I have to reach out to them because I think this is also a big thing. So basically, there's a company called Bitwave. They acquired Gilded for undisclosed amount to solidify its dominance in the Web3 payment industry. So if you don't know, Bitwave is let me get through. Which part is it? So No, that's not the important part. So where we're at, Bitwave, a San Francisco based tech company that focuses on enterprise accounting for the crypto industry, announced a strategic acquisition of Gilded Finance, a lending provider of Web3 focused accounting and leading provider of Web3 focused accounting and financial reporting tools. So here's the thing. And this is like another thing that we've mentioned, and we've just talked about how this is generally how tech kind of flows, where one company will buy another company because they either want that product that that smaller company or that newer company offers, because they don't want to develop the whole process in-house. So you just go, hey, let's get the money together. We got it. Yo, how much will you sell for? And then we'll bring you on board with this company. We'll give you a VP position. You'll be the head of this department, blah, 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 whatever, whatever. And then boom, you just move and transition over, right? You consolidate the two, but you take that new software, or you take the talent pool, whether they got the killer biz dev person or they got a super CTO person or some crazy level developer. Now you got that person, that team, that talent, that group, that product inside now. So here's how I'm looking at this. And I think that this is also, again, another like thing that goes to the indicator of down the road, and especially as we move forward with the whole thing of the more stories are coming out about like the Wall Street move within the space, right? So of course, you know, Wall Street isn't going to the rinky dink, like any secondary or whatever related Wall Street company isn't going to a rinky dink financial firm. You're looking for a technical firm that has a good standing, has shown proven track record for delivering on the technical side. You're looking for an accounting firm that has the expertise and the software tools that can scale for you. Gilded has been around for a couple of years already, right? And so their team of people, they've been around. They've been watching the regulatory space develop. They've been watching the technology part of the space develop. They've been watching the community's acceptance of regulation and having to deal with taxes develop and become more of a norm. I will say, for what I understand about Gilded, they definitely have an understanding of this space that comes from firsthand being in the space as a company. I know the check amount had to be nice. I got to start sending out some DMs to some people to be like, yo, so you moved over, like, or like, so what does your office look like now? But anywho, I think here's my thought process for pretty much all of these stories so far. What we are seeing as the theme is that there are a number of moves that to me look like within our industry, as far as the crypto space, the blockchain companies, organic blockchain companies, not the companies who are like, oh, we did something and then spun up a wing. I think that this shows in a bigger context that there is a lot more feeling of regulatory security, because you look at the business deals and partnerships roadmap progressions that X amount of these companies that I've mentioned so far have been making. Okay. And so I think that Bitwave buying Gilded is definitely a sign that, yeah, the regulatory stuff is here. Yes, the taxes stuff is going to be in. But what I also wonder, though, because Gilded was they had a thing for like entrepreneurs and people who are like in the gig economy stuff. I wonder if they're going to do the thing that Bitwave did, where like they was all cool with like retail level folks, and then they started shifting to the institutional level folks and was like, all right, like they kept shrinking down the department and the support for retail level. I wonder if within another year or so, is that what Bitwave is going to do with the services and the products of that Gilded is bringing in-house to them now? Are they eventually going to just focus that totally on corporate institutional side? I don't know, but it's just a thought process. If I think I'm understanding what everyone is like kind of saying is coming down the pike as far as the institutions being more public about what they either are acquiring or what they have already had, but didn't say anything publicly about it. Just throwing that out there. All right, so jumping into this last story. So NFT marketplace Magic Eden believes lowering the cost in NFT production creation and creates an easy access point for users to try NFTs. So let me run through this next line right here. Where we at? Non-fungible token marketplace Magic Eden has announced that it will support Solana's compressed NFTs to provide a cost-efficient, scalable alternative to owning digital collectibles. And then what's this other line? I don't want to go back. So C NFTs differ from the usual Solana NFTs because their data is compressed and stored off-chain. Again, we're going to this whole thing of like, well, let's do stuff off-chain, right? Which gets us back into siloing the data. Anywho, because of this, production in larger quantities is more feasible as they require less fees to mint. So basically, this is we're lowering the financial barrier to entry because you are able to produce more product at a lower cost. Why? Because X amount of the data that you would end up putting on chain to make this thing non-fungible, to make it unique, to make it have a digital mark that you can say this NFT, this picture of the car that such and such drove, or this 3D model of blah 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 movie star is not the same as the other 500 that are still on the NFT market, right? That's the whole idea behind this. So now you have it that they're saying, well, there's X amount of data that we can extract and just throw it off chain somewhere, and then still have it be digitally linked by giving it some hash marker that works to point to the data off chain. The issue still remains in this one, and for how many stories I've covered over the last month that involve Solana is making some real moves. My question is how many of these things will actually pan out in the long run? Like, if for all of the things that I've covered, at least for the things that have come across my radar, if none of these things work past 2025, it was all a grand experiment. I mean, the whole damn thing is a damn experiment to begin with. But just looking at some of the partnerships, like there's the Visa joint, they did another thing with another company that I can't remember right now. But this thing in particular here's the other part to note about this, right? So Ethereum is still the notable name within the NFT world as far as the underlying technology, but now you have the competitors or the other usable technologies, which is really just different blockchains, right? So, but the distinction being this, and there was an article that I did, I think 2 weeks ago or a week ago, that was talking about like, well, what makes Solana better is that we learned certain lessons off of what happened with Ethereum once we started getting the activity and people were able to do certain things as far as automating things with smart contracts and people being able to go directly into the smart contract and interacting with the blockchain versus using the GPU, which is the website front. So you got to understand, like, Solana has X amount of more updates to it that you don't get the same level of accessibility to the layer one blockchain. Not to mention, they have, so how am I gonna wrap this up? Because I'm running on time. I know it. I'm sorry. I was really trying to be short. I promise you, I really was. So here you have it as this, right? This is what I'm thinking in my mind. If this goes well to where they can show that they're bringing in the creators and the creators are making enough things to scale. Like, who remembers the oh, you did a 10,000 NFT drop. Oh, you did a limited 100. Oh, you did a 35,000, whatever. It cost you how much? Yo, cut that cost down and not even half, right? So it's going to be one of those things of where they're trying to get the creators to start minting, quote, or building at scale on the Solana, the compressed NFTs, which then, if you have the right talent or you are able to market the creators well enough, that draws the attention of the buyers. And of course, there's going to be some, hey, if you buy blah, 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 and then we're going to promote it, and there's going to be a whole bunch of pump and jumps. Why? Because it's going to be cheaper to produce NFTs on Solana's compressed NFT setup than compared to doing regular Solana and compared to doing a regular Ethereum based NFT. And it's going to be way cheaper than an Ethereum-based NFT. So the other thing to expect is there's going to be a number of pump and dumps and a number of scams. But you also got to think about it this way too, in that Solana's chain has the ability to be turned off, reversed, and frozen for transactions. So how's that going to work within this NFT thing? Time is going to tell us. I'm saying this is an indicator that X amount of the space might try to make their version of this. So example of Ethereum's devs are going to, at some point, try to figure out how to make a version of this compressed NFT thing. More than likely, it's going to be following the same path of, oh, we'll just chuck off more of the data off chain and then figure out more of the, well, what are the core things we actually need to keep in this? That's more than likely how that's going to go down, technically speaking. And then the other chains will look to do the same thing, which then will be picked up by the NFT markets, which probably might end up getting picked up at some point in a variation of by the exchanges, because it's like, well, how do we make cheaper transactions or like compact more transaction data without the heavy bulk of the data into the transactions blocks or whatever. But anywho, the point being is this, y'all. We're going to end up seeing something play out in the NFT market. And from a technical standpoint, this is interesting. But will the creators adopt it? Will the buyers be cool with it? Are people going to be susceptible to a lot of pump and dumps off of this? Time is going to tell us. Like, and then we're going to see what the hackers do. The hackers going to be hackers, y'all. And we going into the winter season. It's Christmas, man. People got to buy their kids gifts and stuff. You know, hackers going to hack, y'all. New Year's and everything around the corner. But anywho, that's my last story. Yeah, that's my last story, y'all. So thank y'all for making it to the end. I do appreciate. If there's anything that I said that you don't agree with, comments is always open. 9 times out of 10, I'm in the live with you right now. So hopefully you having a good morning. And you know, if you hear this later on after the fact, like I'll be over on Twitter. The DMs is open, so you can find me for sure. And hopefully if you rebuttal me, hit me with something good so I could like learn off of it, or at least sharpen my sword on like why I said I have the stance that I have about whatever that topic was. Other than that, things to remember is I do the Metaverse the Other Side with my homeboy 3D. That comes out on Saturdays around 12-ish. We do the live streaming of that on the Twitter Spaces. That's on the Builder Dial Twitter space. Link for that is in the description. Oh, side note, yeah. So what is that? The 21st to the 23rd is the Black Blockchain Summit in DC at Howard University. If you in DC, come through. I'm going to be down. Look at the website. It's going to be a whole interesting slew of folks down there. If you've never been, come through. It's a hell of an experience to see like the super room full of Black people outside of like Brazil and some African country. And it's a blockchain crypto related event, and it's like a room full of Black people talking real techie, okay? As well as like legal folks and compliance folks and lawyer folks and like college educator academia folks. Zay's gonna be there, Clev, Lamar, a bunch of other people. Naja Roberts is gonna be there. It's gonna be a number of folks. I'm doing a panel on Thursday. I forget what it is right now, but I know it's related to like metaverses and stuff like that. But nonetheless, if you're in DC, the 21st to the 23rd, Black Blockchain Summit, check out the website, come through. I'm definitely going to be there on the 23rd because I got a panel, like I said. Other than that, as I say, have a productive over busy day. If it cannot be a productive over busy day, at least be in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company. And from one human to the next, that's the best that I can wish you, in all honesty. So other than that, y'all, one.